Hi, I'm Jefferson Drexler, and this is Parent Like You Mean It, the podcast where we talk about parenting with intentionality. In other words, doing things on purpose with our kids today with the hopes of seeing great, amazing adults raised up in the future. So, like many guys my age, I grew up with sports as a regular part of my daily life. Little League in the spring, soccer in the fall, basketball in the winter. Mom wouldn't let me play football, but that's for another podcast. At school, every lunch break and recess was filled with one game or another. All this to say, I have had countless coaches impact my life. And in all the coach speeches that I've heard, including those that I've seen on TV and movies, there's one single overused phrase that I have absolutely abhorred my entire life. It's neither profane nor profound, but it's been used for generations. Sports commentators use it regularly all over the globe in their pregame and their postgame analysis, and I hate it. Here it is. Ready? Quote, "I want you to give 110% out there." The same goes for all those post-game victory speeches where the athlete claims, "We just gave 110% today." No, you didn't. That's ridiculous. It is physically impossible to give 110%. You can't give more than you're capable of giving. Now, perhaps you were able to give, 10% more than what you had previously estimated that you could. But that doesn't add up to you giving 110%. That means that you were only maxing out at a possible 90% before. To quote the wise sage Robert Parr, math is math. I bring all this up to make this point. There is only one way to tell if you or your kids are giving their all or 100% to anything. And it doesn't matter if we're talking about athletics or grades or just making sure that the laundry ends up in the hamper and not stashed in the, between the wall and their bed. There's just one way, one single way to tell if they're all in or if you're just seeing a half-hearted effort. I'll explain. As a coach, and it doesn't matter what sport we're talking about, the same goes for club water polo as it does for 7-year-olds doing mixed martial arts, or for your old school guys, baseball, football, or basketball. We want to motivate athletes to push themselves beyond their comfort levels in order to grow in strength and endurance. The trick with kids, and to be honest, adults, we're no different, is that we're all really good at convincing ourselves of anything, including the myth that we're exhausted when we're actually just tired and a long way off from exhaustion. I don't have enough fingers and toes to count off how many times I've seen a kid nearly in tears claiming they were going to die if they just took one more step, only to see them gleefully riding their bike off of jumps at the end of their cul-de-sac not 30 minutes later. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not endorsing the 80s Pop Warner football coach approach of, if you're not puking, you're not trying. Maybe that's one of the reasons Mom didn't let me play football, but then again, that's a different episode. What I am suggesting is that there are 3 limits involved here. 1, what each of us are capable of. 2, what we believe that we're capable of. And 3, what our coaches or our mentors encourage us to become. And as a coach or mentor, there's only one way to accurately assess where that limit is. You have to become a regular part of their lives, carefully taking in, examining, and assessing all of the factors of their life. This includes their social life, their digital life, their family life, their diet, their entertainment habits, their sleeping habits, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Accomplishing this may be easier than you'd assume, though. Imagine this scenario. Coach says, "Hey, bud, did you see that new Marvel movie?" The athlete says, "Yeah, we got to see it the night that it opened at midnight." Coach says, "Cool, who'd you go see it with? Any of the other guys on the team?" Kid says, "No, just me, my older brother, and my dad." Coach says, "Sweet. Now, finish drinking your water and take another lap." Now, obviously, this is oversimplified, but it isn't inconceivable. In less than 15 seconds, we learn that the kid may be tired, but not exhausted from staying up too late at the movies. However, he had a good time spending an evening with his family. Now, is his dad an involved parent or is he a Disneyland dad? Does the kid stay up every night or was this a special occasion? Did he get a decent breakfast after a limited sleep? Well, these are still unknown factors, so we can only go by what we do know. He's tired, but probably not broken. Contrast that to this situation. Coach starts out with the exact same question. "Hey, bud, did you see the new Marvel movie?" Athlete says, "The what? No, I don't know." Coach says, not into superhero movies, huh? Athlete says, no, I am. I'm just not, I don't know. Coach says, cool. Hey buddy, why don't you drink up and then come help me, stack these pads over here or do something else while we have the other guys run another lap so that you and I can talk and maybe the coach can perhaps be of some help. Again, oversimplified, I know, but the point remains the same. 2 questions in and a quality mentor can see the red flags being raised. Now here's the big point. Don't miss this. This principle doesn't merely apply to sports. The same things happen day to day in our everyday life. Simply in our efforts to raise our kids to be decent human beings, to be selfless, to be merciful, and to do the right things, in order to reveal to our kids just how generous they can be, we need to push them beyond their perceived limits. Sometimes this type of scenario reveals itself like, training for a sprint. Dude, share half your candy bar with your brother. It's that simple. And sometimes it's more like training for a marathon. Guys, these other kids, they're going to be living with us for a few months because their mom has been really sick and can't get them to school and care for them every day. We'll need to make room for them, not just at our dinner table, but in our schedules and in the amount of attention that your mom and I have to give out to each of you. We cool? And just like in sports, the key is to push them and grow them, but not to break them. More often than not, it's ideal to guide them through tired and even to exhaustion, but not to their breaking point. Now, each kid has their own unique limits. And just like we see in sports, there is only one way to discern where each individual's breaking point is: by being a part in their everyday lives. No, let me correct that. By having been a part of their lives. You see, anyone can pop into a situation, quickly assess how a kid is behaving, make assumptions regarding what has led up to that moment, and then take action to motivate the kid to their next step. But that type of coach or mentor or parent, well, they're an odds-on favorite to eventually screw things up. The key is to having been a constant influence in the kid's life. Well, and truthfully, for them to be a constant influence on yours. You need to be able to recognize what stokes each kid's fire as well as what burns them out. And the only way to do that is to closely, daily, at every age and every stage, insert yourself into their daily routines. Now, many times, they won't want you to know who they're gaming with or what they're struggling with. But if you're going to be good at this parenting, mentoring, coaching thing, you need to figure out how to wiggle your way into that space. Then, and only then, can you push your kids to new, unforeseen levels of generosity, kindness, and just putting others first. Now, as with nearly every rule, there are exceptions. The analogy that I've often heard is this: in the event of a fire, even if you're not a firefighter, every soldier needs to grab a water bucket. It doesn't matter that you're not a trained firefighter. Turn on the hose. You see, sometimes we, even kids, have to function beyond our assumed breaking points. Some might say we have to give 110%. I wouldn't say that, but many would. My point is that there are times in each of our lives where we need to step up and give more. We need to do more than we thought that we could. This will come a lot easier if we're coached up to do just that. When we have reference points in our lives, such as running that extra lap or pushing into overtime or dutifully babysitting for another hour beyond what was originally agreed upon, the opportunities are endless for us adults to push our kids to experience life outside of their comfort zones, and in doing so, prepare them for the uncomfortable moments in life once they're paying their own rent. How do I know this? Well, it's something that I try to inject into how I parent our 4 unique individuals on a daily basis. It's a perspective that I bring into their sports training as well as into their training for real life. And I learned this from my dad, who encouraged me to stretch myself and grow more in regards to work ethic and looking out for others. In other words, being a good teammate than for pursuing my own selfish desires and ambitions. In other words, when it came to being a hardworking husband, father, friend, and neighbor, well, you could say that Dad taught me to give 110%. For Parent Like You Mean It, I'm Jefferson Drexler.